In this compelling examination, we delve into a tragic case from the mid-20th century, transporting ourselves to Germany. Rosemarie Nitribitt entered this world on February 1, 1933, in Düsseldorf. Her life, from its very inception, was overshadowed by instability and hardship. Born to unmarried parents, Rosemarie faced social stigmatization early on, as her parents separated when she was just a child. This separation forced her mother, Maria Nitribitt, into a relentless struggle to provide for her family. With the birth of 2 more daughters, the weight of poverty bore down even heavier. Unable to care for her children, Maria Nitribitt made the heart-wrenching decision to place Rosemarie and her sisters into children's homes and other institutions. By 1939, they found themselves living with foster parents. Yet, this arrangement brought little solace. Instead of care, Rosemarie faced abuse at the hands of those meant to protect her. The chaos of World War II enveloped Germany, and for a vulnerable girl like Rosemarie, life was a daily struggle infused with fear and uncertainty. The threat of air raids loomed large, forcing families to seek refuge from the relentless bombings that ravaged cities across the nation, including Düsseldorf. Food shortages became the norm. The harsh reality of rationing meant that children, particularly those from impoverished backgrounds like Rosemarie, often went to bed hungry. Schools were erratic in their operations, and education was frequently disrupted, making the quest for knowledge a daunting challenge. As the war escalated, countless children were displaced, torn from their families, or relocated to rural areas for safety. Foster care and juvenile institutions were overcrowded and ill-equipped, subjecting children like Rosemarie to neglect and mistreatment. Strict discipline reigned, and punishments could be harsh, especially for those deemed troublesome or defiant. The psychological toll, paired with the instability of her surroundings, deepened Rosemarie's sense of alienation and mistrust. Remarkably, amidst her suffering, Rosemarie exhibited intelligence and resilience. However, her challenging upbringing also ignited a rebellious spirit, a response to the relentless adversity she faced. Her school records revealed a troubling pattern. On days when classes were held, she was frequently absent and struggled to conform to the rigid educational system. This ultimately led to her placement in a juvenile home characterized by a strict and regimented environment. In this setting, where personal growth and emotional support were scarce, Rosemarie learned early on to depend solely on herself. The combination of instability, deprivation, and emotional neglect left an enduring imprint on her young life. Her existence was a relentless cycle of poverty and conflict. These harsh realities profoundly shaped her outlook on life, leaving indelible marks on her psyche long after the war in Europe concluded on May 8, 1945. Rosemarie Nitribitt had frequently attempted to escape from juvenile correction homes, a testament to her fierce determination to control her own life. Seeking financial independence, she navigated through various jobs that proved neither stable nor lucrative. Eventually, she found herself drawn to the streets. It was here that she recognized the opportunity to earn money through prostitution. At just 18, she relocated to Frankfurt, an economic powerhouse in post-war Germany. However, her arrival was soon met with formidable challenges. Shortly after moving, she was arrested for soliciting at a railway station. Undeterred, Rosemarie became resolute in her quest to elevate her status. Frankfurt, bustling with elite businessmen, politicians, and affluent foreign visitors, presented an ideal landscape for high-end prostitution. Unlike many in her profession, Rosemarie chose to distinguish herself through both her beauty and intellect. She dedicated herself to learning English and French, enabling her to engage more meaningfully with her wealthy international clientele, offering them not just her services, but also engaging conversation and irresistible charm. This unique combination of intelligence and sophistication set her apart, allowing her to evolve into a sought-after companion for the affluent. Her approach quickly paid dividends, leading to burgeoning success. With her newfound wealth, Rosemarie embraced an extravagant lifestyle. One of her regular clients gifted her a used Opel Kapitän, while others whisked her away on luxurious Mediterranean vacations. By 1956, she had amassed considerable wealth, reportedly earning around 80,000 Deutsche Marks a year. However, at that time, the cost of purchasing a family home in West Germany was around 30,000 Deutsche Marks. To showcase her success, she acquired a stunning black Mercedes-Benz 190 SL, adorned with red leather upholstery. She drove through Frankfurt with a subtle yet confident allure, soliciting customers and ensuring her presence was impossible to ignore. That same year, she moved into a lavish apartment at 36 Diffstrasse, solidifying her image as a woman of affluence and influence. Meticulous in her selection of clientele, she allegedly entertained powerful businessmen, aristocrats, and even politicians. Though discretion was paramount, whispers circulated that she maintained a record of her clients. Such a record could potentially tarnish the reputations of some of post-war West Germany's most influential figures. Whether these claims were true or mere gossip, they only deepened the intrigue and enigma surrounding her life. On November 1st, 1957, Rosemarie's housekeeper grew increasingly concerned after failing to hear from the young woman for several days. Repeated calls and knocks at the door went unanswered. Troubled by the unsettling silence and a rising sense of dread, she reached out to the police. When the police arrived at the apartment, they forced the door open. Inside, they discovered the lifeless body of Rosemarie Nitribitt lying on the floor. The evidence was grim, revealing clear signs of strangulation and blunt force trauma to her head. The woman was later identified as Rosemarie Nitribitt. The crime scene unveiled a chilling mystery. There were no signs of forced entry, yet it was evident that her death was no accident. What intrigued investigators the most was the undisturbed state of her home. Her valuable jewelry remained untouched, and a large sum of cash lay in her purse. Her expensive furs and designer clothes hung neatly in the closets. Her sleek sports car sat parked outside, and investigators began to suspect that Rosemarie had likely known her killer. While searching a desk drawer, they stumbled upon a list of names, just first names, devoid of any details. It was unmistakably a list of her clients. When the newspapers caught wind of this, excitement surged, yet none dared to publish the names. Instead, they questioned why the police had not yet apprehended the murderer. The reality, however, was that the investigation faced numerous challenges. Despite the immense pressure on detectives to identify the perpetrator, the case grew complicated due to the potential involvement of influential individuals. Yet this did not curb public speculation. Various names circulated, with theories ranging from a crime of passion to the calculated silencing of a high-end prostitute. The murder and the victim's secret life became the talk of the town. It was revealed that a tape recorder had been found in her apartment, which some newspapers claimed was for recording her clients. However, the police refuted this, asserting that they discovered no evidence to support such claims, and the only sounds captured by the tape recorder were music. This denial only ignited the belief that Rosemarie might have been involved in some form of blackmail, using recorded conversations with powerful men to leverage her wealth. The names remained closely guarded. Although clearly indicative of her clients, only first names were provided, leaving the identities of these men shrouded in ambiguity. Some clients did, however, admit to giving her substantial sums of money, yet most claimed it was for medical expenses. They reported that she had told them she was pregnant and needed a termination. They all insisted that the money was given in cash, and none could confirm whether she was indeed pregnant. Rosemarie's profession was not unusual in the city, but her violent death was certainly out of place. The intricate details of her life captivated both the press and the public. This only fueled speculation regarding possible motives for her murder. Could the culprit be a jealous lover, a vengeful client, or a powerful figure desperate to conceal his secrets? Yet, like much of her life, the identities of her clients remained enshrouded in mystery. Erna Kruger, Rosemarie's housekeeper, informed investigators that Rosemarie kept most of her wealth in the bank, possessing a substantial balance. Yet, like so many others in her life, she had no knowledge of the circumstances surrounding the young woman's tragic demise. Frau Kruger was not gentle in her critique of Rosemarie's character. She characterized her as vain, greedy, and dishonest, someone who cast aside old friends once she attained wealth. Nevertheless, she mentioned one notable exception, a student whom Rosemarie had known for several years. Police grew suspicious that this young man might be involved in the murder, but their investigation yielded no evidence to implicate him. His alibi was robust, leading to his exoneration from any suspicion. Yet another individual emerged as a person of significant interest, Heinz Pullman. A salesman by trade, he had previously claimed to have a close relationship with Rosemarie. Holding a key to her apartment, Pullman asserted that he provided her with financial advice. However, he denied any knowledge of her murder. As the investigation progressed, the mounting evidence against him painted a troubling picture. A witness identified Heinz Pullman during an identity parade, asserting that he was the man in the gray suit who nearly struck him with his car on October 29th, the final day Rosemarie Nitribitt was seen alive. Despite this damning identification, Heinz Pullman maintained an unsettling calmness. He declared that he did not own a gray suit and insisted he had an alibi for the majority of that day. Yet troubling questions regarding his past loomed over him as the investigation into the murder deepened. At the time of the murder, Pullman was out on bond, appealing a conviction for theft of sales receipts. Police conducted a search of his modest apartment, but uncovered no evidence linking him to the tragic fate of the young woman. However, as the investigation unfolded, several critical details began to surface. Weeks before her death, Rosemarie confided in friends about her growing fears for her safety. Just 2 days prior to her murder, witnesses reported seeing a gray Mercedes trailing her vehicle. Furthermore, on October 28th, she had been seen engaged in a heated argument with a dark-haired man outside a nightclub. Despite these alarming revelations, Heinz Pullman remained the primary suspect. Intriguingly, he had recently come into a significant amount of money, which allowed him to settle a considerable debt. When questioned about his sudden financial windfall, Pullman claimed he had saved the money himself, stashing it under a heavy cabinet in his apartment. Yet the truth seemed elusive, lurking beneath layers of deception. Finally, under scrutiny, Pullman acknowledged that he had seen Rosemarie on the afternoon of October 29th. He insisted he left her apartment when a customer arrived, a man he claimed not to have seen, but police sensed he was withholding crucial information. A subsequent search of his property revealed that he did, in fact, own a gray suit. When police retrieved it, forensic experts discovered stains that were later confirmed to be human blood. However, due to chemical cleaning, they were unable to extract any further evidence. In a desperate attempt to deflect suspicion, Heinz Pullman claimed that the blood found on his suit was, in fact, his own. He asserted that a skin condition caused him to bleed, contradicting his earlier statement to investigators, where he insisted the stain was not blood at all. After weeks of relentless interrogation and numerous contradictions in his account, Heinz Pullman was ultimately charged with robbery and the brutal murder of Rosemarie Nitribitt. This pivotal moment came in February 1958, following the shocking discovery of oil traces from his vehicle. While the public hoped for justice, the decision ignited a firestorm of debate. The evidence against Pullman was largely circumstantial, prompting many to question whether he was indeed the murderer or merely a pawn in a much larger game. Perhaps an industrialist or politician sought to silence the young woman, using him as a scapegoat. However, mere weeks later, the murder charge was unexpectedly dropped due to a lack of sufficient evidence, and despite still facing robbery charges, he was released from custody. Yet this setback did not deter prosecutor Heinz Wolf, who remained steadfast in his belief that Pullman was guilty. Wolf continued the investigation, meticulously compiling an extensive 5,000-page dossier in the months that followed. In a shocking display of opportunism, Heinz Pullman sought to capitalize on his connection to the murder victim by attempting to sell his story to a magazine. However, public outrage led to the cancellation of the series. The backlash against him intensified when reports emerged that he had also tried to sell Rosemarie's client list to Soviet authorities. Following these revelations, he was offered a role in a film based on the case, but the public's fury was palpable, and he was swiftly dropped from the cast. Unfazed, Pullman's insatiable quest for fame and fortune drove him to try selling Rosemarie's client list once again, this time to the German authorities, yet he remained unsuccessful. His streak of misfortune culminated when he was sentenced to prison after losing an appeal for an unrelated larceny charge. His desperate attempts to profit from Rosemarie's legacy continued, but luck was not on his side. Eventually, he found himself incarcerated after his appeal regarding an unrelated larceny charge was denied. In March 1960, new evidence would once again revive the case surrounding Rosemarie Nitribitt, and Heinz Pullman was charged anew with murder. The public's fascination reignited as they pondered the tragic fate of the young woman who had been so brutally murdered in her apartment in October 1957. Questions loomed large. Would justice finally prevail, or would Heinz Pullman once again evade conviction? His trial commenced 3 months later, on June 20, 1960. capturing the media's intense scrutiny. In the courtroom, Pullman appeared confident and unapologetic. He openly acknowledged his history of deceit, yet vehemently denied any involvement in Rosemarie's tragic death. He insisted that his relationship with her was purely platonic, maintaining that all he ever did was. Pullman claimed during the proceedings that the blood found on his suit was his own, attributing it to a skin condition that caused him to bleed. Ironically, he had previously told officers that the stain was not blood at all. Heinz Pullman occasionally arranged meetings with wealthy clients, receiving payment for his services. As the investigation progressed, he portrayed himself as a victim of Rosemarie Nitribitt. However, when pressed about the circumstances surrounding her death, his story spiraled into a convoluted mess, raising more questions than answers. Witnesses recounted Pullman's behavior in the days leading up to the murder and afterward. Some claimed to have seen him with scratches on his face, exhibiting nervousness. Others connected him to a car that nearly struck the gardener on the fateful day Rosemarie lost her life. As the trial unfolded, his defense attorney, Alfred Zeidel, sought to undermine the prosecution's case. He argued that the timeline of Rosemarie's death was murky. Without a clear sequence of events, he insisted that the prosecution's entire case lacked reliability. Zeidel further contended that Pullman had no motive to kill the young woman for financial gain. After all, he had access to her apartment with a key, which would have allowed him to steal from her without resorting to murder. The prosecution, however, painted a different picture. They argued that Rosemarie had been murdered to prevent her from disclosing damaging information. They pointed to Pullman's attempts to sell her client list as a damning piece of evidence, highlighting his increasingly erratic behavior following her death. Each day, the courtroom buzzed with spectators, all eager to uncover the truth behind the captivating death of a woman who had captured the nation's attention. The public was riveted by the case, fascinated by the intricate web of wealth, power, and vice that defined post-war West Germany. The media seized every opportunity to sensationalize the unfolding drama, portraying Rosemarie as both a tragic victim and a beguiling enigma. This case not only unveiled the moral complexities of West German society, but also ignited discussions about the treatment of women, particularly those in vulnerable positions. However, when the trial concluded, Heinz Pullman was pronounced not guilty. This verdict shocked many, yet some believed it to be just, despite the prosecution's attempts to connect him to the crime. The evidence against him proved inadequate, and inconsistencies in witness testimonies further undermined the prosecution's case. Some speculated that Pullman had become a scapegoat, a convenient target to divert attention from more influential figures who might have had a motive to silence Rosemarie. Following his acquittal, he maintained that he had been wrongfully accused, a man ensnared in an intricate web of intrigue beyond his control. Yet, for those who sought the truth, his release did little to alleviate the lingering doubts about the true events surrounding her death. The story of Rosemarie Nitribitt continued to resonate, inspiring adaptations in films and plays that reflected the nation's enduring fascination with her life. In 1958, just 2 years before the trial, a film titled Das Mädchen Rosemary emerged, a thinly veiled dramatization of her life. Following that, a wave of films and books delved deeper into her tragic case, ensuring that her story would not be forgotten. The nation's ongoing fascination with Rosemarie Nitribitt's life was palpable, reflected in a film made in 1958, just 2 years before the trial. Titled Das Mädchen Rosemary, this work served as a thinly veiled dramatization of her tragic story. In the years that followed, more films and books emerged, delving deeper into the complexities of her case. The narrative often delved into themes of morality and the intricate complexities faced by women like Rosemarie Nitribitt, who sought financial independence through unconventional means. Yet her life and tragic death remained shrouded in mystery, leaving many questions unanswered. Who were the men that surrounded her, and did they play a sinister role in her murder? Did she hold incriminating evidence, making her a target? And, most hauntingly, why did the investigation yield no conclusive results? Some theorists speculated that crucial evidence was willfully ignored or even destroyed, aimed at shielding powerful individuals from scrutiny. Conversely, others posited that her death was merely the tragic fallout from a confrontation with an enraged client. This murder remains one of Germany's greatest unsolved crimes, serving as a stark reminder of the perils faced by women in such professions. Rosemarie's life offers a compelling reflection of the social attitudes that prevailed during her time. More than 65 years after her untimely death, the enigma surrounding the murder of Rosemarie Nitribitt continues to enthrall, ensuring her name is etched in the annals of history. This case illuminates societal perceptions of women, prostitution, and the stark divide between public morality and private indulgence. The audience was captivated, their attention unwavering. With gratitude, the narrator expressed appreciation for their engagement, inviting comments and feedback before hinting at the anticipation of the next chilling case.